What's up, y'all? You know what I'm saying? Iskosi Fun Day back once again. And I'm talking about, the church committee, you know, and doing a church committee, which I'm gonna show and prove that they're talking about how the US government was poisoning the black community. You know, I'm gonna show when I get down to it. But this first piece we got on it is the as you see the title, the Army conducted germ warfare tests in Washington's National Airport. This came out in 1984. So this it's like it's a known fact, but it's not really a known fact. You know what I'm saying about what I'm talking about? You know, the U.S. Army secretly sprayed potential harmful bacteria in 5 open-air tests in Washington D.C. in 1964 and 1965 as part of a biological warfare experiment, according to declassified Army documents obtained by Freedom under the Freedom of Information Act. Although heavily censored, the former secret documents published by the United States Army Biological Laboratories before Deidre Merritt revealed that the personnel from the Army Special Operation Division, SOD, used to spray, specifically designed suitcases in their spray to strain the bacteria, Bacteria tuberculosis, on inspecting travelers in Washington, D.C. Crowded National Airport and at the Greyhound bus station. And at the Greyhound bus station. That's crazy. Concerning a harmless agent by the Army, Bacillus has been found to cause a respiratory infection, blood poisoning, and food poisoning. Using a number of one-way round-trip tickets being sold at the time of the test, the Army estimated that affected passengers would carry the bacilliosis more than 200 cities. The Army team estimated that in New York, Washington, D.C., Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles will receive the highest incidence of infection from the departed passengers. Due to massive deletions in the classified documents, it could not be determined where or any follow-up study on the affected passengers in the designated city. The classified documents revealed that the Army had also planned experiments at the Greyhound terminal in San Francisco and Chicago. The cost to pay 6 officers to lunch cover attacks in the city, in the target city for 7 days was estimated at $21,730. Deletion in the release material prevented any classified contamination, and several additional tests were actually conducted. The purpose of the testing, the document stated, was to study the consequences of the smallpox in a biological warfare agent. The suitcases carried by Army personnel contained the battery-powered pumps which spray bacteria into the crowd terminals. In the test of the main course, the north terminal and the shuttle area of the airport, the bacteria was pumped into the air continuously for up to 30 minutes at a time, according to documents. The passengers in the shuttle area of the airport moved too quickly for the Army, the report stated. The calculated exposure should have been massive, and the document stated very few of the shuttle passengers would have breathed that many organisms, as they're not in the area long enough. The tests in the main concourse in the north terminal were more successful, the report concluded. The Army tested the test also concluded Army personnel with air sampling. It continues down. Let's go find this. Any more of this. That's crazy. So, you know what I'm saying? They testing all over them. The suitcase to measure the amount of bacteria disseminated. The air samples were collected and by one operator sealed in the center of the waiting room of the north terminal of the building. At the North National Airport, the report stated other test team members, each with suitcase samplers, selected a passenger at random and covertly collected aerosols in close proximity to the passenger during the stay in the terminal. The report concluded photographs of Army personnel mingling with unsuspecting passengers at various locations and terminals, including the question. No terminal employee, passenger, or visitor gave any outward indication of suspicion that something unusual was taking place. Freedom revelations several years ago that the Army, in concert with the Central Intelligence Agency, the C.I.A., had conducted similar tests on unsuspecting citizens in New York, Florida, and elsewhere gained international headlines. However, this is the first time that the nation capital has been found to be a target of biological warfare experiments. Although the documents do not reveal whether the C.I.A. participated in the test in Washington, evidence strongly suggests the possibility. A hearing before the Senate committee to study the government operations with respect to intelligence in 1975, this is the Church Commission they're talking about, revealed that a close relation between the Army Special Operations Division and the Central Intelligence Agency in chemical and biological warfare experiments. We're going to go a little bit more deeper into that, you know what I'm saying, in this video. The report from stating that C.I.A. association with Fort Detrick often involved special operation divisions of the facility. The division was responsible for developing special applications for biological warfare agents and toxins. Its principal customer was the U.S. Army. It was concerned with development. It was concerned with the development of both suitable agents and delivery mechanisms for paramilitary situations. Both standard biological warfare agents and biologically derived toxins were investigated by the division. The report explained the CIA official participation in the project. The CIA relationship with SOD was formally established in May 1952 through a memorandum of agreement with the U.S. Army Chief Personnel Chemical Officer of the performance of certain research and development and laboratory facilities of Special Operations Division of the Army Biological Laboratory at Fort Detrick, which is in Maryland. One of the CIA objectives in the project was described in 1967 memorandum, which maintained a stockpile of temporary incapacitating and lethal agents at the readiness for operational use. The Senate committee discovered that the CIA had covered its tracks. Though some of the CIA originated documents have been found in the project files, it is clear that very limited documents of the activities took place. Now, smallpox. They try to do everything. Although conducted constantly in terms of the testing of the National Airport and the Greyhound terminals, were purely to determine the effectiveness of such attack by an enemy. There is no explanation for the obvious interest in the method of creating smallpox virus, the cost for creating it, and the detailed analysis of the symptoms of smallpox. The applications of certain sections of the declassified Army report are alarming in the light of CIA documents intentions to stockpile the lethal agent. They got smallpox stockpile. One section, for example, called for the covert employment of smallpox virus, with the details favoring the selection of the virus of smallpox as a biological agent of choice for covert operations of this study. Similar attractive features of smallpox are listed, including smallpox is highly infectious, which we all know that. You know what I'm saying? See, highly infectious with close contact. It spread readily from the infected person to suspect individuals. 2, a long incubation period, relatively consistent duration permits objective reason responsible for the attack to leave the country before the first case is diagnosed. Number 3, the duration of the illness, and for those who recover, is relatively long. In the report on Washington, D.C. experiment concluded that the tests demonstrate that an aerosol of smallpox virus can be disseminated in the covert type devices. The documents were submitted to the Senator James Sasser, a Democrat out of Tennessee, the ranking minority member of the Military Construction Subcommittee of the Senate Appropriations Committee, who recently withdrew his support from a proposal $1.4 million budget appropriation, which enabled the Army to expand the germ warfare testing capacity at Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. The Senate has questioned whether the exposed explanation facilities will violate a ban on biological weapons. But, they really didn't give a damn. They're really not going to stop. We're going to show more of this, because it gets worse than what you think. Let's keep on going down this rabbit hole. Now, this right here is the Church Commission Book 2. Book 2. I want to make sure they got many books on this study, you know what I'm saying? And right here, we're looking at the section of CIA domestic activity. Number 1, vague controls on the CIA. The vagueness of Congress prohibitions of internal security functions by the CIA left room for the agency's subsequent domestic activity. As the CIA is supposed to be your foreign intelligence, for those that don't know. It's supposedly supposed to be built for foreign intelligence. But we see right here that it's not. A restriction against the police, law enforcement, or internal security functions first appeared in President Truman's order establishing the Central Intelligence Group in 1946. General Vandenberg, then director of Central Intelligence, testified in 1947 that this restriction was intended to draw the lines very sharply between the CIG, which is Central Intelligence Group, which is the CIA, and the FBI, in order to show a Central Intelligence Group never become a Gestapo or a security police. To ensure that the Central Intelligence Group never become a Gestapo or security police. Winking and nod, laugh it on off. Secretary of the Navy, James Forstall, testified that the CIA will be limited definitely in the purpose of outside this country, except in the collection of information gathered by other government agencies. The FBI will be relied upon for domestic activities. The House floor debate, Congressman Hopefield stressed that the work of the CIA is strictly in the field of secret foreign intelligence and what is known as a clandestine intelligence. They have no right in the domestic field to collect intelligence on a clandestine military nature. They can evaluate it, yes. Consequently, the National Security Act of 1947 provided specifics that the CIA shall have no police, subpoena, or law enforcement powers or internal security functions. However, the 1947 Act also contained a vague and undefined duty to protect intelligence sources and methods, which later were used to justify domestic activities ranging from electronic surveillance to break-ins to penetration and protest groups. Now, here's the part we're going to get into right here. Let's just get a backdrop about the CIA, just in case people didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? The functions or the alleged functions. But as you see, they're doing domestic stuff. Number 2, drug testing and cover programs. In the early 1950s, the CIA began a program of successfully testing chemicals and biological materials, which include drug testing on unwitting Americans. The existence of such program was kept secret because, as the CIA Inspector General wrote in 1957, it was necessary to protect operation from exposure to the American public as well as the enemy forces, whoever they may be. Public knowledge of the CIA unethical and illicit activities were thought to have serious political repercussions. CIA drug experiment was discarded in instructions of their superiors within the agency and failed to take reasonable precautions. When they took the test, which was resulted in the death of Dr. Frank Olson, that's the story that you hear about. The CIA made extensive use of the Bureau of Narcotics, the Bureau of and Dangerous Drugs. The Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, I think it's the DEA today. Don't quote me on that. In conducting this program for drug testing on unwitting subjects. Military intelligence also administered drugs to volunteer subjects who were unaware of the purpose of the natures of the drugs which they were participating in. CIA drugs conducted in part from arrangements of universities. Listen to this now. The CIA drug research was conducted in part during arrangements of universities, hospitals, and private research organizations. So they got their hands in a lot of stuff. Still do to this day. In a manner which concealed its institutions in the interest of the CIA, although key individuals were made of in writing of the CIA sponsorship. Although, so you know what I'm saying? So the CIA is giving out grants to these colleges, these universities, hospitals. They're doing things with this private research. They tap into government money through the CIA. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of places. You heard of Amazon. You've seen that before. And Washington Post. You know what I'm saying? Places like that. Even shows it in this document. You know what I'm saying? We're going to tell a little bit later on in this video. Now, Amazon wasn't created around the Church Commission, number one. But you know what I'm saying? But Washington Post, Operation Mockingbird, they talk about all this stuff. This is stuff when they're trying to get down to the drugs part. You know what I'm saying? So when they, like I said, they poison again at the drugs and all that other stuff out there doing that. You know what I'm saying? Pushing out the poison gases, which we haven't got to yet, but we're going to show it because they got this part of the biological warfare program. So, of course, they got poison gas. Let's show that. Now, here we go. The Army sprayed St. Louis with a toxic aerosol during a just revealed 1950s test. Now, this is from the AP. You know what I'm saying? So, if you got a problem with this, you got a problem with the AP. This came out in 2012. Let me blow this up a little bit more so people can probably see it. So we're going to find out. The Army is from the AP, as I said before, October 4, 2012. Not that old, really. The Army's secret chemical testing in St. Louis neighborhood during the Cold War raises new concerns. Doris Spatwin is a baby. Her father died inexplicably in 1955. She watched 4 siblings die of cancer, and she survived cervical cancer. After learning that the Army conducted secret chemical testing in her impoverished St. Louis neighborhood at the height of the Cold War, she wondered if the government is to blame. In the mid-1950s and a decade later, the Army used motorized blowers to top of low-income housing areas, some high-rises. This is black people living here. That's just a code word. Low-income housing, high-rise, that's the code word. They just don't want to say black. They're still trying to cover it up a little bit. They're still trying to cover it up. A type of high-rise at the school and from the back of the stations, saying potentially dangerous compound already in the hazy air of the predominantly black area of St. Louis. So they was out here just spraying the area of St. Louis, the north side. Officials were told at the time that the government was testing a smoke screen that can shield St. Louis from aerial observation in case of Russians' attack. But in 1994, the government said the test was part of a biological program, and St. Louis was chosen because it bore some resemblance to a Russian city that the United States might attack. That's messed up. You know what I'm saying? Because it bore some resemblance to the Russian city that the United States might attack. The material sprayed was a zinc calcium sulfide, a fine fluorescent powder. Now, new research is raising a great concern about the implications of those tests. St. Louis Community College Mackerman sociology professor Lisa Mariano Taylor researched and raised the possibility that the Army performed radiation testing by a mixture of radioactive particles within a zinc calcium sulfide, though she concedes there is no direct proof. So this is just her speculating, you know what I'm saying? But a report released last month was some troubling enough that both senators from Missouri wrote to the Army Secretary John Hughes demanding answers. Aides to the Senator Claire McCaskill, she's not there no more, it's 2018, Corey Blunt, I don't think he's there no more either, said they received no response. Army spokesman David Foster declined an interview request from the Associated Press, saying that the Army will first respond to the senators. The area of the secret testing is described by the Army in documents obtained by Mariano Taylor through the Freedom of Information Act, requested a densely populated slum district, code word black, another code word, among 3/4 of the residents were black. There you go. Space Now 57, retired, was born in 1955, living inside her family's apartment on the top floor ever since demolished Pruitt-Igoe housing projects in North St. Louis. Her family didn't know that on the roof, the Army was intentionally spewing hundreds of pounds of zinc calcium sulfide in the air. 3 months after her birth, her father died. 4 of her 11 siblings succumbed to cancers at relatively young ages. I'm wondering if it got into our system, Space said. When I heard about the test, I thought, oh my God, if they did that, there's no telling what else they're hiding. That's the key right there. I wonder about the test and like, oh my God, if they did that, there's no telling what else they're hiding. And that's a fact-ola right there. Marilyn Helen Brender's one or two. Now 68, her family lives in a working middle-class race neighborhood where the spraying occurred. The Army admitted using only blowers to spray the chemical, but Brenda recalls a summer day playing baseball with her other kids on the street when a squadron of green Army planes flew close to the ground and dropped some powdery substance. She went inside and washed it off and washed her face and arms, and then went back out to play. Over the years, Brenda has battled 4 types of cancer: breast, thyroid, skin, and uterine. I felt betrayed. Mendel, who was white, pointed the fingers during the Holocaust, and then we would do something like this. Mario Taylor said she wasn't aware of any lawsuits filed by anyone affected by the military deaths, although she says there is no payouts and not even an apology from the government to those affected. Secret testing in St. Louis exposed to Congress in 1994 under the demand of health study. A committee of the National Research Council determined in 1997 that the testing did not expose residents to harmful levels of chemical. But the committee said the research was sparse and the finding relied on limited data from animal testing. In the note, that a high dose of casein over a long period of exposure will cause bone and kidney problems, lung cancer. The committee recommended the Army conduct a follow-up test to determine whether the inhaled zinc breaks down into toxic cadmium compounds, which can be absorbed into the blood to reduce the toxicity in the lungs and other organs. And the common sense answer should be yes, but they're going to waste money on this dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? Happening in the black community, as I just said, the black area. I showed you where they even admitted to it. They do it in the laboratories, tests, and all type of shit like that, universities. But, it's a lot on this. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got to stick to this one. There's a lot on this. Like I said before, let's look at some. Now, if you go on Wikipedia, this is called Operation LAC. You know what I'm saying? Our large area coverage. U.S. Army Chemical Corps operations which dispersed microscopic zinc calcium sulfide particles over much of the United States. The purpose was to determine the dispersion and geographical range of biological agents. Earlier tests were conducted prior to spraying several Operation LAC that proved to be a concept of a large area of coverage. Canadian historical files related to the participation in the test cite similar particular previous screens of testing leading up to the operations of LAC. September 1950, 6 simulated tests were conducted on the San Francisco Bay Area. Right? So they got San Francisco. It was concluded that it's feasible to attack a large seaport city with biological aerosol agents from a ship offshore. March and April 1952, 5 trials were conducted on the coast of South Carolina and Georgia under Operation Dew. It was concluded that long-range aerosol clouds could attain hundreds of miles of travel in a large covered area when disseminated from ground level under certain meteorological conditions. 1957, North Sea, off the coast of Britain, now they're going on international, you know what I'm saying? And in St. Louis in the mid-1950s, and again a decade later, so they did St. Louis twice, the Army sprayed zinc chlorine sulfide via motor blowers on top of Ingo Pruitt at the schools from the back of station wagons and via planes. Like a girl was saying, they was doing it from planes too. You know what I'm saying? So this is overly well documented that they had their hands in all this stuff like that. So what makes you think they really stopped? They haven't really stopped. You know, so let's look at the Pacific number test right here. You know what I'm saying? In December 2nd, December 1957, the test was incomplete due to a mass cold air flow coming from Canada. Right? The carrier particles dropped down to the dew point almost to the northeast, taking most of the particles of Canada with it. Military operators considered a test a partial success because some of the particles were detected at 1,200 miles away at a station in New York State. A February 1958 test at Diggle Lake Proving Grounds, which is in Utah, ended similarly. Another Canadian Maryland swept across and carried the particles into the Gulf of Mexico. 2 other tests along the path from Toledo, Ohio to Abilene, Texas. Another from Detroit into Springfield, Illinois, and to Goodland, Kansas. So the agents dispersed through this aerosol method could achieve wide coverage when the particles were detected on both sides of the fight plan. So, you know, it ain't never really stopped. It just kept on going and kept on doing what they was doing, you know. So this is what they doing. They just intentionally, they really poison the whole United States, but you know what I'm saying? They intentionally, with the Pacific test, but they had the eye specifically on the Black community. You know what I'm saying, with all that stuff. But it also showed they did the whole United States. So, you know, so we gotta, you know, hell, can't allow that shit. You know, that's tyranny right there. You know what I'm saying? Remember, at the same time, they doing Tuskegee. You know what I'm saying? They're doing the syphilis test and all that stuff like that. What else around this time? They trying to pump heroin in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Because they control drugs too. You know, we go back here and see. They said they control. You know, we go back here and see. You know, so they said control drugs and everything like that. The C.I.A. made extensive use of the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs in conducting this program of drug testing on women subjects. This also led to the drug selling. You know what I'm saying? Military intelligence also distributed and administered drugs to volunteer subjects who are unaware of the purpose of the nature of the test they participate in. The C.I.A. drug research was conducted in part through arrangements with universities, hospitals, and private research organizations in a manner which concealed from the institution the interests of the C.I.A. Although key individuals were made witting of the agency's sponsorship. They still sponsor a lot. You know what I'm saying? So this is how they got down, you know, poisoning the community. Still poisoning the community. You know what I'm saying? If they did this in the air, just think what they did to the water. You know what I'm saying? We better start looking deeper at some of these plastic plans that's going on around here. Nothing really happened by happenstance. Anyway, that's Iskosi Umfundisi. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully I showed some stuff that, you know, makes you open your eyes a little bit and wake up. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? You know, like I said, Iskosi Umfundisi, you know, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening and being a, you know, wonderful, willing participant in this. You know, I hope you learned something. Y'all have a good one. Peace.